Welcome to the Tech Index AI podcast, April 29th, 2026, where we blend tech IP data, reports, and charts with the latest news in all things logistics with a focus on air cargo. So, what if I told you the cost of your next overnight package is, being directly decided by a pipeline out in the Arabian desert?
Yeah, it's a pretty wild chain reaction to try and track.
It really is. Today, we're diving deep into mapping out that exact reaction. We're exploring how the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East are, well, fundamentally rewiring the global oil market, sending jet fuel prices skyrocketing, and basically scrambling global air freight rates as a result.
Right, and it's this fascinating physical manifestation of geopolitical risk. I mean, the data shows us exactly how fragile the geographic choke points of global supply chains really are.
Definitely. Let's look at the hard data from the April 28 Tech Index to see that in action. The global Baltic Air Freight Index actually gained 4.1% just last week.
Which, puts it at a massive 32.7% increase year over year.
Right, it's huge. But the regional contrasts are where things get super chaotic. Like outbound Chicago rates jumped 27.4% week over week.
Wow, in a single week.
Yeah. And London Heathrow is up almost 92% year over year. But then Frankfurt actually dipped 2.2%. It's like a global game of whack-a-mole, As soon as capacity and rates stabilize in one regional hub, they just explode in another.
That's exactly it. And the why behind that regional disparity is directly tied to severe jet fuel shortages.
Yeah.
Highly elevated prices from the Middle East conflict are essentially forcing airlines into these localized panic reactions.
Oh, so they're pulling capacity from less profitable routes just to conserve fuel?
Right, exactly. They have to consolidate. I mean, global freight capacity acts a lot like a giant waterbed.
Yeah.
When you push down heavily in one area, that cargo demand doesn't just disappear, it surges.
It surges somewhere else, like Chicago or London.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which creates an instant bottleneck. The rates explode because suddenly everyone is fighting for the exact same limited cargo space. Meanwhile, a hub like Frankfurt might see a temporary dip simply because the immediate panic routing bypassed it that week.
Okay, so jet fuel availability dictates routing, and routing dictates hub capacity. Because air freight relies entirely on jet fuel, we really must connect these tech index numbers to the massive shockwaves hitting the global oil market.
Absolutely, and there's a massive structural shift happening there right now. The UAE is abruptly leaving OPEC and OPEC Plus.
Which is a huge geopolitical bombshell. I mean, OPEC controls so much of the world's oil supply. Isn't the UAE walking out like a star quarterback leaving in the middle of the Super Bowl?
It really is a massive disruption. But looking at just the impartial facts from the reports, the ongoing Iran conflict and attacks in the Strait of Hormuz have heavily bottlenecked traditional export routes.
Right, because it's so dangerous for the tankers going through there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the UAE is a low-cost producer with a capacity of about 4.8 million barrels a day. They're exiting the cartel to bypass those maritime threats entirely.
Wait, by using their own overland pipelines?
Right. They can pump their oil directly to terminals on the Gulf of Oman, which completely avoids the threat zone and secures their own unbothered export routes.
So they're essentially building a physical detour around the whole geopolitical crisis. But even with that detour in play, how does $104 a barrel crude oil directly hit the ground game for the broader logistics market right now?
Well, it's creating a severe divide on Wall Street. Transport-heavy companies are really feeling the heat.
Like UPS, right? I saw they just had their Q1 profits drop because spiking fuel costs completely offset their underlying business improvement.
Exactly. They have to operate those planes and trucks regardless of the fuel premium. Meanwhile, some consumer giants like Coca-Cola are just brushing off high oil prices.
Because they can just pass those inflationary costs down to you at the grocery store.
Right. But if your core business is moving physical things, or, say, heavy tech manufacturing, you eat that fuel cost directly. It proves that fuel costs are currently the heaviest anchor on the macro market.
It really highlights the chain of causality here. Geopolitical shifts are keeping oil prices high, which squeezes logistics profits and pushes global air freight rates to peak season levels way early.
Yeah. And it leaves us with a really critical question to watch. If major oil producers like the UAE continue to break away from traditional cartels to secure their own insulated supply chains, will this newly fractured oil market eventually stabilize jet fuel prices?
Or is the era of predictable freight rates gone for good?
Right, exactly.
Until next time.